What's happening, guys? Welcome to this video of my Corvette. So I got a Corvette. Anyway, I'm not, like I said in the last video, I'm not entirely positive I'm going to stick with that title. But anyway, so I'm going to kind of set this channel up, I guess, as a blog channel. Simply because, I tried to film doing some of this weather stripping, and it's, I don't mind sharing pictures, like making a little video blurb about how easy it was or how hard it was. But the problem is I only have one Corvette, and I'm not really inclined to, I don't mind doing how-to videos and tutorial videos. But the thing is, when you have a camera in front of your face and you're trying to do something, it becomes a giant pain in the butt because you're trying to do stuff with a camera in front of you and try to get shots that are relevant to what you're trying to do. So, that being said, I'm going to try to go a little bit along the lines of a blog type, style of type of channel-ish, I guess. And I've looked around, and a lot of people that have Corvettes and cars like this, they do like a little blog or whatever, and I've enjoyed them. So you know what? I guess I'll torture you guys as well with my random babbling about my car and whatever my thoughts are at the time, I guess. But as far as like the projects I do, I'm gonna do little recaps here and there of them, so that's just what it's gonna have to be. So, so this video, I'm gonna kind of talk about my Corvette, how I got it, and where I was with this. So what you're looking at is a Dodge Viper. It was gonna be a Dodge Viper, but with the prices of everything, it's been quite interesting. So anyway, I'll just kind of, there's a reason why this car is special to me, right? When I was younger, I remember seeing one of these Mazda RX-7s, first generation Mazda RX-7. It was brown, had brown interior, and I wanted one when I was younger, and it even had louvers. And bam, look at that! I'll be darned. This isn't my only RX-7, just so you know. Little bit of background. I did, for a brief stint, work at a dealership that specialized in Corvettes and hot rods and stuff like that. So, that being said, this was around when I worked there, the C5s were just coming out. So the C5s, yeah, you weren't really seeing them too much, but the C4s were the newest thing, and everybody was getting C4s. So that being said, I have had my hands on ZR1s, plenty of L98s, and plenty of LT1s. Now, the really interesting thing about this is, without really going into too much background, I didn't know. I've always wanted a Grand Sport, a 96 Grand Sport. I always wanted one. The first one I saw, I wanted one. And I remember driving down the avenue, cruising the avenue, is what we called it back in the day. I remember in my little rice burner, driving up down the avenue, and one of the cars that was kind of, pacing me, I guess you would say, because that's what we do when we're cruising, we pace each other. And it was a blue with white racing stripe Grand Sport. And it was obviously some kid driving his dad's car. It is what it is. But that being said, I knew right away, had the fender flares, and you know, it just didn't look right. It had something special. Then you open up the hood and it's like, whoa, it's a Grand Sport motor says Grand Sport. Anyway, I had no idea, as much as I thought I knew about Corvettes when I was younger, that the Grand Sport was just a paint job, some wide rims, and some fender flares. That was really the only thing that made it special compared to this one. And granted, the blue with the white racing stripe does look pretty slick, but it's advertising. Not calling a Corvette a sleeper in any stretch of the imagination, because, anyway, that being said. So kind of, you know, getting back to what I was originally going to talk about, you know, I'm going to make this, the channel, a little bit of a blog style, and I'm going to talk about, you know, my projects and everything that I'm doing with the car. It's not specifically going to be about the Corvette. I might touch on my RX-7s every now and again. Might not, who knows. I may do some driving videos, you know, is what it is. Just depends on whatever I decide I want to film. Anyway, so as far as the Corvette's concerned, there's not much else I'm going to really do to the car. I'm going to get all the little micro scratches out of it from whoever that owned it before me. Obviously cleaned it with a brush. I'm going to talk to somebody about all the rock chips on the front, see if I can't get any touch-up done on the front, just on the hood there. It's just, there's a lot going on there. Anyway, let me get back to what I was originally wanting to talk about here. So this is, I call this my California car, right? I wanted it to be a Dodge Viper, but, you know, with the prices of everything going crazy, I'm not going to spend good money on a salvage title vehicle, all right? That's just not going to happen. So, anyway, I had to do a long and hard think about what I wanted to do and what I actually wanted to spend my money on. And my wife and I sat down, we talked about it, and, you know, I was like, well, I really like the Corvettes. You know, when I was younger, I grew up wanting a red Corvette. She didn't really want the red Corvette, I will tell you. She did not want a red Corvette. We looked at a few silver ones. We looked at a couple black ones. We looked at some red ones. And the first one I looked at was a red one. And I wanted a red one. One of my bucket list things to do is drive up the coast of California in a red Corvette. That's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. But anyway, so I've been gone for 5 months, right? And that's one reason why my garage is filthy and my lawnmower, my riding mower, is outside along with my grill, has been out, not that one, has been outside all winter. Just is what it is, whatever. Happy thoughts, happy thoughts. But anyway, that being said, so when I left, I knew I was going to get a Viper. That was going to be my California purchase. I was going to buy a Viper, and, you know, that was going to be what I got, you know, as a reward to myself for being gone as long as I was. So I didn't, you know, when I left for California, I didn't quite leave for California because they weren't quite ready for my work group, which was okay because we had a hurricane hit down in Louisiana. So we made a detour down to Louisiana, and, you know, we took care of Hurricane Ida storm restoration. And we went down there, lovely work camp conditions. You know, it was not the most favorable experience. So those of you who are in the lineman industry, you know, utility, you know, restoration, you know what I'm talking about. It's not one of the more pleasurable things being on a hurricane, and especially being on a hurricane in Louisiana. It's not fun. It's not the best place to be. So anyway, that being said, I went from Louisiana straight to Northern California, and we took the southern highway all the way across, got into Southern California and went straight to Northern California. So we went through San Francisco and with a bunch of bucket trucks, which was priceless, but it is what it is. We went through the Golden Gate Bridge and utility bucket trucks. It was fun. Fleet of bucket trucks. But anyway, really fun stuff. So that being said, I finally get out to California, and the whole time I was looking for a Viper. Wasn't happening. Just wasn't happening. Just wasn't in the cards because the price. My wife and I we decided it was not something that I wanted to invest in, especially when eventually those prices are going to come back down, and they have started to come back down too. Since I've been out in California. But one thing that really wasn't fluctuating as hard, and this is something that kind of caught my eye, was these C4s weren't fluctuating really hard. Because I'd been looking for a C4, here and there. A couple of them come up for sale. The late 80s versions, not the final version, but a lot of the late 80s versions were coming up. And I'm like, for a couple of grand, I could have a really fun car. I have my RX-7s, but, my wife, I probably shouldn't say much about that. But anyway, when we were looking at Vipers, the interior room was a little bit more spacious than an RX-7. Okay, we're just going to leave it at that. So anyway, the Corvette is quite similar. And one of my bucket list cars, in addition to the RX-7, was a red Corvette. I remember the first day I saw a red Corvette. And it was, I've got pictures of me in the Corvette Museum. I've been all over. I just love Corvettes. When I was younger, it was just one of those things where I wanted to, own every Corvette. But anyway, I specifically wanted a red C4 Corvette. And I'm kind of getting a little long-winded here because, a lot of what I'm going to say isn't really pertinent to what is going on. But so anyway, so it's not that I settled on this car. I was going to eventually get one. I was just waiting for the right time, I guess. Obviously, I've got my RX-7s. That's not the only one I got. I'll do a video on all the rest of them. But anyway, eventually this was going to happen anyway. So regardless of if I got a Viper, I was going to eventually end up getting a C4 Corvette. I had looked at a couple others, and they were like 94s and stuff, and they weren't the... Well, anyway, so I started, when I was out in California, finally got out to California and decided, you know what, I'm just going to get a Corvette. The first car I looked at was a Z06, a black Z06. And it was an estate sale, but that thing was just completely trashed. The tires were the original tires for the car. Everything was dry rotted. It was disgusting. Although it was very reasonably priced, I could have thrown tires on it, but I would have had to chase. Every gasket in the engine, I'm sure, on my way back from California. So my goal was to find a Corvette to drive back from California, because I wanted to buy the Corvette out there, drive it around, enjoy the car out there, and then drive it back. That's what my goal was. I came across the first C4 that I looked at was red, looked just like this. It had bolt tops, it had the base model seats, and it had Grand Sport convertible wheels. So it didn't have the fender flares, and it didn't have the wide rear wheels. Now, that being said, it also didn't have the big brakes. So anyway, so I was supposed to buy that on Halloween. The guy was out of town until Halloween, and I was like, all right, I'm patient, I'll wait. And I was going to drive down to Sacramento. Day before Halloween gets here, he decides to back out. Right. I was like, okay, whatever, it wasn't meant to be. So then I come across the silver one, and I ended up putting a deposit on that one. The guy backed out. Another one I actually, and this was around the same time as the other one. Another one came up, and it ended up where it was a silver one as well, and I really looked into that car hard. You know, it was a good looking car. You know, I put a deposit on that one too, and you know, keep in mind all these guys that I was putting deposits down for. They did give me my deposit back, so this is, you know, you're not hearing a bad experience here, even in spite of me having to find a Corvette over and over and over. And I'm like, good grief, how hard is it to find a car? So anyway, you know, I'm in the midst of this. I'm looking, and I come across this one. I messaged the guy, and I had already been burned out of one red one, and burned out of a silver one at this point. And so I said to myself, okay, I think I'm going to get to the point here where I'll just expand my search to different years. You know, and I wanted something similar to... I just happened to cross the LT4 version. I didn't even realize there was anything special about it. I did know that there was something special about it, but I didn't know. Okay, I know what a Grand Sport is, but I didn't think that the Grand Sport motor was in anything else, right? So I didn't know that the only thing special about a Grand Sport is a paint job, fender flares, wider wheels, and that's it, really. So anyway, I'm sitting here looking at it, and I'm like, interesting. So I took and expanded my search, right? So I'm like, okay, well, if I can't get this one here, because I wanted a manual transmission car. That was my big stick in the sand, right? And I went through, and I was like, no, I don't want a Doug Nash, you know, and there's a lot of really clean ones. If I spend a lot of money, you know, they're, you know, 85s on up. So I was like, you know what? I just want the best C4 that I can get that is something special that not a lot of people have, but you can't tell. And this is what I ended up finding was the C4s, the 96 C4 with the manual transmission got you the LT4 engine, which there was not that many of them out. And there's actually fewer red LT4 Corvettes than there are Grand Sports. So this is rarer than a Grand Sport, the way this is set up. And it's, with all due respects, you know, just as fine of a vehicle, right? Anyway, so I wanted a California car, and that wasn't happening because everybody out in California seemed to be a little sketchy about, you know, selling their cars, or so in love with their car they didn't want to sell it. So I ended up coming across another collector's edition, and this guy actually like let me in on the skinny on what was special about these cars, why they were special, and you know, I put a deposit on his car, and he was 9 hours away from where I live. And keep in mind, I'm also across the country. So, I mean, he's closer to New York City than I am to home, right? So it was going to be a wait. You know, he was going to have to wait. You know, I was going to send my son up to get the car, and you know, it was going to be something that he was just going to have to wait on, you know, getting the car out of there. Long story short, that one ended up falling through. You know, he ended up refunding my money on that one. And as soon as I felt that he was kind of backing out, I come across this one. Like, seriously, like, This one just happened to pop up where the guy messaged me back. And I had messaged him earlier, not thinking I was going to get the car. And I wasn't thinking that, he was going to. So anyway, I ended up getting this thing for less than what everybody was asking for him. And I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with that. So obviously, I'm not going to be driving the car in California. Obviously, I'm not going to be getting the car to enjoy while I'm out there. It sucked. So, I had to wait to come home to enjoy my California car. So, I now keep in mind I was Carfax hungry here. I was, looking up Carfax reports on several of these things. And at this point in time, I had settled 96 LT4. That's the only one I'm looking at. That's the one I'm getting. And briefly, before this guy messaged me back about this car, I was starting to say, you know what? I'm just going to buy a Corvette while I'm out here in California, drive it home, sell it, and then buy something that I want. So the guy messages me, sends me the VIN number. I look it up, and this sucker was bought brand new in California. Okay, keep in mind of my travels to California. This car did my exact trip from California. Okay? The trip I took to go out to California, this sucker, I kid you not, this car did the exact opposite to come out to where I am. I don't know how to explain it, but I tell you, there's no way that you can get a bigger sign from the man upstairs that a car is okay to buy than, hey, you wanted a California car. It's not going to be from California when you get it, but it's a California car. It was bought brand new in California, spent most of its life in California, then went to New Orleans for a few years, and then came up north to you. Now, that is just absolutely absurd. I can't. I got a California car. This is my California car. This is quite literally a California car. I bought it while I was in California. I sent my son to go get the car, and he got it before I had this thing on the trailer, or my son had this thing on the trailer before the guy had a chance to think about saying, nope, I don't want to, before the ink was dry on the title, this thing was going home. So I have to give my son a big thank you for going to get this thing. But yes, no, this is quite literally my California car. I do like the way it is set up. I do like the saw blade wheels. I do like these chrome saw blades. You guys are gonna hear me saying different things at different times about me wanting to do different things. At the very least, what I want to do with this car is I want to get 9.5s all the way around. That's the very least. That'll be the cheapest option. Just all I got to do is swap out the front rails. So if anybody watching has a set of chrome saw blades that they're willing to throw in a box and send me, I'll obviously buy them off you, of course. But if anybody's got a set, I'll be more than happy. There was a guy pretty local to me that was supposedly coming across some ZR1 rears, and that would have been cool. They were chrome, but I haven't heard anything back on it, so that would be kind of cool. I know the offset's a little weird, so that might be an issue. I've got to look into that more. Anybody that knows these cars better than I do, more than happy to hear some constructive criticism. I know from my understanding and reading in the factory service manual, the rear is no different than with the Grand Sport. However, the ZR1 is different, so the offset with the ZR1 wheels would be different. So I'm not entirely sure, but anyway, that being said, California car. You cannot get more ironic than that. So, anyway. My big project, at this time, though, is I'm going to be attempting to get rid of all these little tiny dinky scratches. Here's the top. Let me unplug the phone here. Here's the top. Yeah, it looks pretty much like the surface of the moon. And then I've been working on the hood, and it's better, but it's not wonderful or anything. Anyway, I do have some rock chips here and there. Kind of like I was saying a little bit ago, I do want to kind of see if I can't get somebody to, I'm going to go get some estimates, see if I can't get any, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do, because I can live with this paint job. I really can. The scratches and everything, I'm not concerned about it at all. I'm going to work at getting the scratches out. Look at that dust. Ugh. Obviously, the best thing to do is to drag your hand across dust. But anyway, I don't think I'm doing much of anything other than... because, like the little... For me, just dragging across, you can't even see them. I'm okay with those little wispy spiderwebby lines. But these great big ones, somebody wash this thing with a brush. Anyway, that being said, I'm going to get that taken care of. I'm going to get that all fixed. And there are patches of the car that are worse than others, like the door. There's some scratches around the door and everything. We'll get her fixed. It'll be good. But yeah. I'm not going to add any stripes. I think that'd look kind of stupid. And I'm not saying that if you have anything with stripes on it, the red ones with stripes, that's stupid. It's not my cup of tea. And I was thinking about doing the hash marks, just the hash marks, or like the side cowl stripe or whatever. I don't think that, I just think that'd be too much. My wife really likes the car as it is, so I'm thinking what I'm probably going to end up doing is, if I don't get ZR1 wheels, then what I'm going to end up doing is I'm just going to get a set of 9, or a pair of 9.5s, put them on the front, and be really happy about it. I think that's just going to be my ultimate goal there. And, just kind of touch up the paint, get the paint where I would like it, and then, yeah. So anyway, guys, if you have any questions or comments, feel free, leave them in the comment section below. Like I said, I'm probably not going to do any videos pertaining to how-to videos. I might do, me explaining what I did videos. It is what it is. I was going to do tie rods this weekend, but that ended up not happening. I did put the tires on, and I did not do the tie rods yet. I'll be doing that at a later date. I got to change the oil, and then in a couple of thousand miles, it'll be ready for its coolant flush. And I'm going to wait for a warmer day to do that than what's going on. Obviously this week's going to be kind of junky because it's getting back down into 30. So, that being said, if you guys have any questions or comments or whatever, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. If you liked the video, please definitely hit the subscribe button. I'm not going to post frequently. I'll do, like once every couple weeks or whatever. And, I don't know. I got a Corvette. That's all I got to say. I got a Corvette. It's special to me. You may not like it, but I really like it. So, and yes, it's not a Dodge Viper, but you know what? As far as the fun factor, the cost per fun level, even right now, the prices on these have still kind of stayed pretty steady. So, at the time of this recording, the best bang for the buck as far as car that's going to be quick, that's going to get you the experience of a higher end vehicle. The the cost to maintain it isn't that high. This is going to be something you're going to want to look at. Even the LT4 cars, but if you look at like the LT or the LT1 L98 cars, they aren't that bad either. So it isn't too bad. Anyway, guys, 30-minute video, yay. Anyway, yeah. So have a good one, guys. I'll talk at you later.